As we mentioned in the gi application, looking at the mechanics of the chokes and the structure of the knee on belly position, knee on belly affords you a lot of opportunities as far as mobility and stability. I always refer to it as transitional position because it's somewhere residing between maybe standing and ground, and also between side control and mount, so it affords you a lot of good opportunities because of that. If we look at the structure of it in more of a self-defense or a fight context that's not strictly sportive, where there's no strikes involved, then what we can look at here and notice is that not only does this give me the opportunity here, if I feel like I've safely subdued this guy and the fight is maybe to a conclusion point where I can maybe stand back up and disengage and get out, I can also use this position here, which is why it's very valuable for law enforcement, to be able to kind of surveil the crowd and see what other threats might be posed from here while I'm still maintaining somewhat of control over this person. Now, the reason that we're showing these choke applications for this is because maybe from here, striking might be a condition that we can use. We can use this to our advantage. We can cause a lot of things to happen, but it might not be the end-all, be-all, best thing to do to finish the fight, because it might be difficult to elicit enough damage to stop the conflict from happening, and I might damage my hands in the process. That's not to say that striking isn't effective, because it can also advance and enhance my grappling aspect. But to offer this as a consideration of how I can subdue him with the chokes, I want to go here, hand goes inside like this, and again I can get him to maybe cover or to move his hands a different way, and then shoot in for the second side, maybe either thumb inside or just grabbing the material here. And again, if he's starting to reach out or do anything with his hands, my knee is available to cut up, off, and over this way, sink down to where I can make effectively the choke happen from this position, and picking him up into me, using my shoulder in front of his shoulder and chest to be able to hold the position a little better, sprawl out, and finish that choke. Whenever we get to that position, I'm trying to go hand up inside. This hand is still available. I'm not too tethered to him to where he has too much influence over my base and posture. And then when I come over to finish the second side, cutting the knee off, over, pulling him up into me to help finish that choke right there. Whenever we got to that position, if this is a little too obvious for me or for him to see, to be able to defend and to give me too much of a response, we can look for that parallel choke or that baseball bat choke as well. So once we've established this here, I've gotten into this position. The baseball bat choke starts with the hands more in a parallel situation like this. So maybe this hand goes in first, or maybe because of how I was riding the position, this hand is in first. Either way, it's going to become effective here for me to go in this direction. The same thing I was doing before with this knee, cutting over Jared's arm, is going to happen again, because that's going to stop him from being able to effectively defend with that arm. I cut over this way, and this becomes a pivot point. Whenever I pivot around like 180 degrees this way, I'm bringing my head down, partially to protect my face if he's doing anything with his hands, but also to control his positioning so that he's not able to defend effectively or put anything in my way to stop my choke. We get here, and then I sink down and finish that baseball bat choke, hands together like this, so they cross after the movement. Let's look at it from a different angle.
One thing to consider too is that as the hands go in, if you're confused about which hand goes where, you can put your thumbs up and point them one direction, kind of north of you.
And just picture that you're holding a baseball bat, because if you hold a baseball bat like some other kind of way, you're really weird. So we go here like this instead. I get in this position, I put the weight slightly to the knuckles, cut the arm off, turn the angle, my head goes down, and then I can sprawl, pulling my hands here and behind me like that to finish the pressure of the choke. We also mentioned before too, if he is able to give me some kind of other resistance whenever I'm trying that first cross choke, right? And what we looked at from there was if we get to this position and I go in, I'm able to get here, but he's really doing a good job keeping me from being able to finish the pressure I need for that choke. I'm going to lean my weight forward this way here so I can balance on my knuckles, hop around 180 degrees to where my toes and my body are facing his body. I'm going to deadlift here, pick him up, and from that position here, this might also be another opportunity for me if I feel like I can, and it's a good situation for me to run and take off to get out of this engagement. If not, then whenever we get to this position, I feel like I need more control. I might be able to go here and take his back, and then look to move in to some of those back attacks we'll talk about in the next section. So one more time for this back take.
Good angle.
Yeah. So we find ourselves in this position here, and I've started this first cross choke like this. He's doing a great job defending. So I move. I don't try to push my hands to the floor from here sitting back. I move my weight forward so that then from there, now my weight's on my knuckles, I can hop, pick him up, making sure I'm using this deadlift kind of motion, pushing him forward like that, and then I'm gonna pick a side to step into. I prefer stepping this side here because that allows me to pass this one immediately to this hand over here. This leg is free to try to cut off. And again, we're going to talk about this in a little more detail, but we did mention before our sliding collar chokes, our Ezekiels, our bow and arrow, all that stuff.
One of the things Eli is doing to make sure that he has an easy step right there is once he stands up right here, he's kind of shifting me just slightly to one side, my spine to one side, and that makes a space for him to be able to step, right? So it's not too cramped.
Yeah, it's a bit like taking a side fall. So yeah, those are some different options we have from the considerations of the structure of knee on belly as far as chokes go in that situation.